Chapter 31. The torchlight along the crypt walls flickered uneasily, as if it too sensed the weight of what was about to unfold. Craven stood motionless, arms crossed, boots planted in the cold stone. He wasn't pacing like Kronos, nor whispering like Sakura. He simply waited, still and unreadable. He had always been good at waiting. Patience had been burned into him by the elders, alongside obedience and silence. But lately those old lessons felt brittle, hollow. He watched as Kronos barked another order, sending a second Ashari into the tunnel after Andrew. The tension in the chamber rippled like a pulled thread. Shira was watching the opening too, sharp-eyed and still as a drawn blade. She'd always had a way of reading the room, of seeing the shift before it happened. His gaze lingered on her longer than it should have. It always did. There was something in the way she held herself, composed, alert, unwilling to yield. He had trained her to be that way. But he had not made her. That fire had always been hers. He had been the one to assign her to the case. At the time, he did not know Kronos was behind it. Once more, he was left out in the dark. When Kronos had her pulled from the investigation, Craven had been blindsided. No explanation. No warning, just an order. He wasn't even told the truth about the kidnappings at first. But the damage was done. She was too good not to see between the cracks and too dangerous to be left to handle the case. He had put her in danger, or so he thought. His eyes slid toward Kronos. The man was pacing now, nervous, glancing at Shira more often than he should. They knew each other. That much was clear. But Kronos had never said a word. Craven remembered her reaction the first time she'd seen him. It was shock, not fear. Recognition. Something had twisted in his chest then. Possessiveness, maybe. Jealousy, even. Emotions he thought long discarded. He hadn't liked it, and he hated being left out of the plan. Leading the nest had taught him many things: how to bend rules without breaking them, how to lead soldiers without becoming a tyrant. It had taught him patience and strategy, the art of control without cruelty. But it had also taught him something far less noble: that no amount of loyalty could earn you the truth. No amount of obedience would make you matter to the ones who ruled from above. For 70 years he had led the central nest, held the fragile peace with both hands while others pulled strings he was never allowed to see. He had trained hundreds, held the line, cleaned the blood from the floor when others made the mess. And still the elders kept their silence. What had all that devotion earned him? A scream that never left his head. The nest in Prague hadn't fallen to vampires. It wasn't civil unrest or Ashari infiltration. It was humans, armed and organized, fanatical in their belief that they were purging monsters. They came in daylight, in broad columns of fire and silver and conviction, and they did not stop until the gates were ash, and every name inside them was erased. The woman he had bonded with, a soldier like him, unyielding even in the end, had been taken in the first hour. She had made no sound, but he had felt her go. A tear in his body like flesh splitting open. He had wanted to kill them all, to flay them alive and leave their bones along the roads. He would have done it too. But the elders had told him no. Wait. Protect the masquerade. Let the humans think we are gone. And he had obeyed. Because that was what he was trained to do. Because that was all the council ever wanted of him. But something in him broke that day. The fire didn't die. It only changed form, became colder and sharper. When he met Kronos, it was in the ruins of an old monastery long since gutted by time and vines. Kronos wasn't trying to seduce him with promises. He offered something rarer: clarity. The humans are winning, Craven. Not because they're stronger, but because we pretend we are still in control. We're not. They breed faster, burn hotter, and the elders think silence will protect us. But silence only digs the grave deeper. Craven hadn't wanted to agree. He wasn't blind to Kronos' history. He knew what the man had done, the legends soaked in slaughter. But when Kronos showed him the elders' words to be lies, there was no going back for him. It hadn't been a dramatic defection, no grand speech, no violent break, just silence, observation, patience. The same traits the elders had cultivated in him turned back against them. By the time Kronos summoned him again, Craven no longer needed convincing. He was done watching a dying empire polish its coffin. Now, standing in the crypt, he watched Kronos closely. The pieces were falling into place. Kronos had known what she was, and he hadn't told him. Craven's jaw tightened. He hated being manipulated. Even more, he hated being wrong. Shera had been under his command for decades. He had trained her, watched her become something formidable, respected her, desired her even though he'd never named it. But in all that time, he hadn't seen it. Hadn't known what she really was. And Kronos had. He didn't trust the man, not completely, not ever. He hated the elders more, and that had been enough for him at the time. But now? Had he been wrong again? Had he just changed one leash for another? A power-hungry council for a power-hungry maniac? A shift in the air. Subtle. A sound from the tunnel. Andrew was returning. Craven didn't move, but his fingers curled slightly at his sides. Whatever happened next, he would be ready for it.